So my name is Nigel Kennington, as Michael said, and I'm based in the Teagasc office in Kilkenny as well. So I'm just going to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of the Sire Advice program that's run by ICBF as a tool to help you make your breeding decisions for the forthcoming breeding season. So look at, if we just started at Google and I've Google searched ICBF login there. I'm just going to select the first option that comes up on the Google search, and it'll bring me to the ICBF home screen. So look at, just before we get into it, I suppose to use this Sire Advice program, Herd Plus, and if you are signed up with Herd Plus, you'll have your own username and password set up. So I'm just going to log in there now with my own username and password, and it'll bring me to a screen here now. So let me just see. So look at, just for the purpose of demonstration, we're going to use the Kildalton herd to run the Sire Advice program. Okay, so when you log in on your own accounts, you'll see a slightly different homepage. So instead of the options I have across here in the front or on the top of the screen in blue, you're going to have these options here. And look at, the one we're looking for tonight is applications, and then we're going to look for Sire Advice. So just again to summarize that, you'll be looking for applications across the top here in the blue banner. And when you get applications, you're looking for the drop down and Sire Advice. Okay, so that'll bring us to this page here. I suppose the first thing before we pick any bulls is we want to have an idea how many we're going to need to pick. And the minimum number of bulls that we'd like to have in a bull team, you'll see it here on the table in the bottom right hand corner, is 7 bulls minimum. And for larger herds, that goes up to 8, up to 14 for very large herds. So for tonight, the purpose of tonight, we're going to be looking at a herd maybe that we'd be looking at maybe 8 to 10 bulls being selected for that herd size. Okay, you do have the option to use the manual Sire Advice, where you perhaps have bulls already selected out in the catalogue and you just want to run an inbreeding check and a balanced breeding approach from that option. But for tonight, we're going to look at the Rolls Royce option, and we're going to click on Sire Advice Plus. So the green button there for start. And that'll hopefully bring us to the page then that displays all the eligible females available for breeding in our own herd. Okay, so what we have now is the list of all those eligible females for your own herd. We have their EBIs, and we can select now out animals perhaps for culling purposes. So if there's animals there with high cell count or lameness issues, or for any other reasons that we've decided we're not going to breed this animal for the coming season, we can select out that animal here. So if we were just to take this cow here, for example, and we're looking at the culling line down along here, and if we select that animal, we're going to say she's culled perhaps for a cell count issue, and we're going to go along and save that change down in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, so she will now be removed from selecting a bull for that cow. Similarly, I suppose there's going to be herds, and as we've gone out of the expansion phase in herds, there's perhaps more scope to use beef AI bulls within the dairy herd. So the goal of genetic gain, I suppose, is always to breed the best females in our herd to the best bulls out there. So to really maximize genetic gain, we want to breed the best with the best. So from that perspective, we can pick out animals maybe based on an EBI, maybe if they're low on EBI, or if they're poorly performing in terms of the milk recording results, or for maybe they're poor in protein or things like that. We have the option to select animals that'll only be used for a beef AI straw. So there I've just selected 3 cows, for example, that can be bred to beef. I need to save changes down the bottom again, otherwise the information will be lost as I move on. And I have the option to sort through the cows along the top here, if you're really going to get into the nitty gritty of it. So look at, if I'm happy with the female side of things and I've picked out my culls and my beef matings, I can go on to the top right hand corner here and press the new blue box up the top for next, and that'll bring me along to the bull selection side of things. Okay, so the first thing I suppose we need to look at is, are we going to use bulls just from the active bull list? So these are bulls maybe that have history, or they have calves on the ground, I suppose, with accurate calving records. But we also have the option to choose from all AI bulls out there which is going to give us the option of a lot of younger bulls and possibly a lot more higher genetic bulls. So I'm just going to pick that selection for the purpose of tonight to pick our team of bulls. And also a new feature literally only added today for the first time is this beef bulls tab. So we also have the option, if we want to pick those AI sires for the dairy herd, we can click on beef bulls here. And we can select bulls based on the DBI index, which Michael will be going into maybe more in later on in the night. Pick bulls that are easy calving and low gestation for the dairy herd. So we have that option there. We're just going to focus on the dairy side of things for the purpose of tonight. Okay, so you'll notice along the left-hand side of the screen here, I have a lot of options in the blue boxes here. And if I click on any of those, there's more selection criteria comes up here. So the first one I'm going to look at is breed. So depending on your breeding goals, there might be some breeds which you maybe don't want to choose from. So for the purpose of tonight there, I'm just going to unselect all the other breeds, and I'm just left with Friesians and Holsteins, okay, for the purpose of demonstration. We also have an option, if I scroll down further, some people will prefer to use one AI station over another, and you have the option to deselect out based on whichever AI company you use, or leave them all open, which is what I'm going to do for tonight as well. Again, another new feature literally only added today, hot off the press, is the option to select bulls based on sex semen or conventional. So conventional being the normal AI straws that we're all used to dealing with. But if I want to just pick bulls that have sex semen available, I can deselect conventional, and I'm left with the bulls that are available in sex semen. But important probably to check out with your technician as regards the availability of those also. But George will talk a little bit more about sex semen later on. So look at, I suppose, just to get into the actual selection side of things, in terms of EBI, so Michael talked about a target of no less than 200, but I'm just going to try push that a bit harder. I'm going to set that minimum of 250, still a very reasonable target. There's still plenty of bulls. So out of a total of 1,160 bulls that we had originally, we're still left with 250 bulls across all AI stations. So then again, I'm clicking between options here on the left-hand side in the blue boxes, and my next option is to click on EBI sub-indexes here. So again, Michael talked about targets for milk and fertility sub-indexes. I'm just going to push those a little bit harder and see what availability there is for bulls if we push those figures a little harder. So I'm going to select 90 for milk and just see what happens. I'm going to go push a bit harder on the fertility side of things as well, maybe 110. Just important to note, so I'm sliding what we call the sliders here on the screen. So I'm pulling this bar from left to right to bring up my criteria and select no animals less than whatever I set the bar to. Also worth noting is these brackets and figures, or these figures and brackets, you might be wondering what they are. They're the individual herds. So when you log in on your own account, they're your own individual herds EBI averages figures. So if we want to get genetic gain, we're going to be picking bulls with a higher figure than our own EBI average. So look at, again, in terms of calving, I'm just going to pull the slider from left to right. In terms of maintenance, so Michael talked about cow size. If we pull this slider here from left to right, we're ruling out a lot of the larger framed animals, which have a higher demand or cost for maintenance to maintain themselves. And if we pull from the right to left, we're going to rule out a lot of the smaller animals. So I'm just going to leave that from 0 onwards, which Michael said is a 640 kilo live weight animal. So then obviously the other key criteria we're going to look at is health. So we really want to be picking bulls with a positive health sub-index figure. I always say, it's all well and good to breed the best genetics that are out there, but if it's an animal that's going to have a cell count or a lameness issue down the tracks, that's an animal that'll slip out of the herd and we won't get to cash in on the genetics that are there. So very important that we don't select bulls with negative traits for health. So you could push that figure further, but I'm just going to leave it at 0 for demonstration. So look at, we can get into even more nitty gritty. We've gone through the EBI sub-indexes, we've set our criteria. Now we can have a look at the milk production figures also. So milk kgs, this is basically the milk volume figure. So we want to rule out potentially maybe some of the very lower volume bulls. So I'm going to set that it's nothing less than minus 200 for volume. But we also want to rule out some of the very higher volume with potentially lower solids animals as well. So we want to drive milk solids production from our percentages more so than from litres alone. We'll obviously need a certain amount of litres to carry the percentages also, or the solids also. So look at in terms of fat kgs then as well. I'm pulling from left to right. And I'm going to try get figures well above what my own herd average is shown in the brackets above. So as I'm scrolling along, the number of bulls I'm left with as I go, as I tighten up the criteria to be selected, is shortening all the time. So we're still left with 57 bulls out of a 1160 to start with. So I'm really going to drive my fat and protein percentages now. As I said, that's where we want the solids to come from. It's from the percentages. More so than litres driven. So look at, as I push this, I'm going to be left with less and less bulls. But even with the selection criteria I've set there, so well above what we have in our own herd, we're still left with 27 bulls out of a total of 1100. So look at another little tip. So I can pull from left to right. This will only really work on your laptop. It's not really a job for the phone, a laptop or computer desktop. I'm pulling from left to right with my mouse, and I can also, using my arrow keys on the keyboard, I can make smaller incremental changes by just tapping the arrow keys on my keyboard, because sometimes it can be hard to get to the desired figure using the mouse alone. So look at, I still have 19 bulls available. So look at, I'd be more than happy with the criteria we've picked there to use from any of those bulls. So just for presentation purposes, I'm just going to randomly select a few of them. So over on the right hand side of the screen here, we have the option to select a bull in the blue box. So now we're given the option to select for cows or heifers. So I'm going to click the cow box and save selection. Then I'm going to go back to my list again and again, just at random and just for demonstration. I'm just going to pick again for the cows and the heifers. I'll talk about a little bit later. So I just pick 4 bulls. We'll just say, so as I say, in a real scenario, you'll be picking 8, if not more than up to 10, I suppose, for a herd of this size. So look at, I just have 4 bulls selected out at this stage. As I pick more bulls, my bull team reliability, is shown in this box here, will go up. So currently I haven't enough bulls, really. I've only 85% team reliability. Really, we want to get that figure up closer to 100%, 90 to 95% bull team reliability ideally. And if I was to add in more bulls there, that figure would continue to increase. I also have the option to view the bulls that I've already currently added in. So they're the list of the 4 bulls that I've currently added in. And we also have a bull team average. So the average EBI for the 4 bulls that I've currently added in. So as I say, if you're doing it in reality, you'll add in a few more. So the other thing we can do here in terms of heifers, we usually like to have, very important that we get low calving difficulty animals for the heifers, and everyone will measure that to themselves and have maybe slightly different criteria. But we can pull down our heifer calving difficulty figure here when we go into calving. On the drop down over here, we can move our heifer calving difficulty, and we also like to sometimes have some records to back that up for some people, and we can pull up the figure here in terms of the number of records that an individual bull has. So for tonight, I'm not going to go into the selection of it, just because I don't have time. We could spend all night really going through this program. There's so much in it, but you can run it quite quick and easy with the criteria we've already set. So again, I'm just clicking the top right hand blue box up the top there to move it on when I'm happy with the selections I've made. So at the moment here, I have the option to manually enter in bulls. So again, if there's a bull from the catalogue, perhaps that we haven't found in our search that we wanted to use, or for some reason. So in this scenario, I haven't picked any bulls for heifers. So I have a few bulls there that I know would be safe for heifers. So I'm just going to manually enter those in by putting in their code up the top and selecting for heifers here in the bottom line there. And again, I'm saving selection as I go along. I also have the option now with the new program. I have the option to add in beef bulls if I want to do so here also. So again, I can just add in a couple of beef bulls just to show for demonstration purposes. And those are ones that I can put against the cows that I've already selected for beef mating. So again, we're just saving as we go. Okay, so we have the bulls that we've manually entered now are coming up here. And again, up the top, I'm clicking the next button in the top right-hand corner to progress. So look at now we have an option to look at straw allocation. I suppose we would be recommending that people don't play around with these figures too much. I suppose the whole purpose of picking a team of bulls is that we pick a team to reduce the risk of individual bulls falling, or so we want to use bulls evenly within that team. So if we pick eight bulls in our team, we want to use those 8 bulls evenly. So we don't want to have a high proportion of straws used for one bull within the team. We want to use them evenly. So I'd recommend not playing around with that figure there. Again, we can go on next. So it's just looking at the heifers. And the bulls we've picked for the heifers are coming up here again, hoping to use even usage. So again, I'm just going to click the top right and click the next button. And they're the dairy beef bulls that we've added in. So that's a new feature, literally only added in today to the program. So they're showing up there as well. So look at, I'm going to keep pressing next in the top right corner. What's happening now is the Sire device is running in the background. It's allocating the bulls that we've selected, and it's allocating them to suitable cows. So it's running an inbreeding check in the background as the codes have got more similar as we've gone on in time. It's been harder and harder to track ancestry and prevent inbreeding. So what the program is doing is it's running an inbreeding check on all the cows and the bulls and preventing us from using a bull on a cow that's too highly related with it. It's also matching the most suitable animals. So if we have a high fertility bull, it'll match that to some of our lower fertility cows in order to breed a more balanced animal going forward. So there's a lot going on in the background there. And you'll see the selections are coming up here. But if I click accept here in the top right corner again, I suppose this is one of the beauties of doing this exercise is if we're happy with the results we have the option to send those selective matings to the AI technician's handheld. So when the technician comes into the yard, he punches in the cow number of the tag number of the individual cow, and he automatically has a bull selected there to mate with that cow. And he actually has 3 options, as I'll show you here. So I'm not going to send it to the AI handheld for tonight, what we've looked at, but I'm going to click View PDF, and it's going to bring up a summary of what we've just done. Okay, so this is the page that we're going to get in our summary. So on the top line here, we have our own herd EBI figures here and the sub-indexes. What we have on the third line is the weighted average of the bull team that we've used. So they're the bulls that we've selected, and we have an average of those bulls. And what it's doing then is making a prediction. If we mate these bulls with these animal females in our herd, this is what the 2023 calf crop would hopefully look like. So you'll see we've selected bulls with high percentages, high kilos of fat and protein, high EBIs, high fertility, good health sub-indexes, and that's going to feed through into the calf crop for 2023. Underneath then, we just have a list of the bulls that we've used. So this is like your shopping list for the AI technician. If you're talking to him to check availability for the different bulls. And then if we go down further, we have an option to look at what are the individual selections for each cow. So as I mentioned earlier, at the very start, we marked out a few cows for culling. So they're allocated no bulls in the system. The animals allocated for dairy breeding. We have 3 options so for some reason, if bull 1 isn't available on the day, we have the option to go to bull 2 and even bull 3 in certain scenarios. If we know then that those bulls are not going to cause inbreeding above a level of what is acceptable. In terms of the beef matings then, so we selected out a couple of cows that we were going to give beef AI to, and they're giving us a beef AI bull to mate to those as well. So a great summary, to be able to print off and use in terms of even if you're doing your own AI there, you have a great printout there of what you need to use in terms of what cow is getting what bull. So look, at just to wrap it up, as I say, it's a big program. There's a lot in it, but a few simple steps you can do go a long part of the way. And just to summarize it, I suppose when we're picking a team of bulls, we're talking about a minimum of 7 to 8 bulls. And for larger herds, you're going to want to use more bulls in your team. You're going to use each bull evenly within that team. We're not talking about picking 8 bulls and using 50% of the straws from one bull. We want to use them all evenly to spread the risk. We can be selective on the cows to breed replacements from, I suppose, as we've moved from an expansion phase into a more consolidating the herd phase. And that's going to maximize genetic gain if we're able to be selective on the cow side as well as the bull side of things. And obviously, look, what Michael has shown you, the EBI is going for 20 years now plus at this stage, since 2001. There's a fabulous information in there. We know it works from what we're seeing on the ground, and we want to pick bulls with a high EBI value. In terms of the sire advice then, look, you're really maximizing your genetic gain. If we were to pick one thing to do in the year and to really give a bit of time to, this is the most important decision you'll make in the year for your farm going forward. The decisions we make today will be yielding benefits for the next 5, 6, 7 years, and it's cumulative. We're adding on top of that all the time. It's really worth giving the time to. If we make a wrong decision today, we'll be regretting it, and our herd performance will suffer in the long term. So you really couldn't emphasize that point enough, that this is one of the most important exercises you'll do during the year, and the sire advice program is allowing us to really maximize that genetic gain. It's a very efficient way of doing it. You'll see there in a couple of minutes we've picked a team of bulls. We don't have to go running through a load of catalogs. We can send it to the AI technicians handheld. That's another job done. And it can also be printed onto breeding charts that we can hang up on the wall as well. So it really is an efficient way of picking a team of bulls in a quick and accurate manner. We've prevented inbreeding because that's running in the background, which is important as well. And as well, we're balanced breeding. So the program is picking, as I said, if you have a low fertility cow, we're picking a high fertility bull for that cow, and we're hoping to breed a balanced cow into the future. So look, at that's, as I say, I'd be more than happy to take questions, and if anyone wanted help with the running the program, I'd encourage them to contact the office or contact their advisor if they need a hand. So I'd be happy to take questions then if anyone has them.
And Nigel, there's just one question there coming in there. Just to explain again the difference between the all bull list and the active bull list.
Yeah. So basically, Michael, the active bull list, I suppose, would have bulls which have a number of calves on the ground. They have a number of progeny, whereas the all AI bull list would include younger bulls which may not have the same number of calves or mightn't even have any calves on the ground. But we'd still be happy to use those all AI bulls list for picking bulls for mature cows, and it gives us a wider scope in terms of the EBIs we're able to pick from.
Okay, and there's I suppose a similar vein there. Just a question coming there on the distinction between genomic bulls and proven bulls. Some people will be a bit nervous maybe of genomic bulls and proven bulls. Any opinion there, Nigel?
Yeah, look, I suppose genomics is around a good while now, since 2009. And by picking a team of bulls, we're generally spreading the risk. There is potential for bulls to rise and fall. That's the nature of genetics. The genomics is giving us a good, accurate picture in terms of the potential of that animal. By picking a team of bulls, we're able to spread the risk and using them evenly. we're protecting ourselves from individual bulls rising or falling. So I'd be more than happy to use genomic bulls. Michael, look at if there's daughter-proven bulls that are meeting the criteria as well, there'd be nothing wrong with using them. And maybe on the heifers if you want more accurate calving information. But genomics is working. You'll see it over time if you compare. If you look back and compare bulls that were genomic at a point versus the daughter proven, and you look at the progeny 5 years down the line, the genomic bulls are generally holding higher than the daughter proven.